The rain was coming down hard that October morning when I pulled into the parking lot of the old diner on Route 47. 20 years. That's how long it had been since I'd last seen this place, since I'd last breathed this air that somehow still smelled like pine needles and possibility. My hands trembled as I turned off the engine, and it wasn't from the cold. I'm Marcus Holloway, and if you've read any of my novels, you probably think you know me. The best-selling author who writes about love and loss, about small towns and the secrets they keep. What you don't know is that every single story I've ever written has been about her, about Elena, about the girl I left behind in Millbrook 20 years ago without so much as a goodbye. The diner looked exactly the same. Red vinyl booths visible through fogged windows. The neon sign flickering between open and pen, like it had since I was 16. I sat in my rental car for a full 5 minutes, watching the rain streak down the windshield, trying to find the courage to go inside. Because I knew she'd be there, in a town of 3,000 people. Everyone knew Elena Marchetti still had breakfast at Ruby's Diner every Saturday morning at 8:30 sharp. It was 8:27. The bell above the door chimed when I walked in, and for a moment, time collapsed. The black and white checkered floor, the smell of coffee and bacon grease, the soft hum of conversation, it was all exactly as I remembered. And then I saw her. She was sitting in our booth, the third one from the door, right side, facing the window. Her dark hair was shorter now, streaked with silver at the temples, but the way she tucked it behind her ear while reading, that was pure Elena. She had a book propped against the sugar dispenser, completely absorbed, a half-eaten plate of scrambled eggs growing cold in front of her. I must have stood there too long, because Ruby herself, 20 years older but still wearing the same style of floral apron, touched my elbow. "Can I help you, hon?" Elena looked up at the sound of Ruby's voice, and our eyes met across 20 years of silence. The book slipped from her fingers. I watched the color drain from her face, watched her lips part in shock, watched a dozen emotions flicker across features that were simultaneously foreign and heartbreakingly familiar for a moment. Neither of us moved. The diner kept humming around us, forks clinking against plates, coffee pouring, the morning news droning from the TV in the corner. But for Elena and me, the world had stopped. She stood slowly, her napkin falling to the floor. I took a step forward, then another. We met in the middle of the diner, surrounded by curious stares and Ruby's knowing smile. Marcus. My name on her lips was barely a whisper. "Hi, Elena." She raised her hand as if to touch my face, then let it fall. "You came back." "I came back, oh." The silence stretched between us, heavy with everything we couldn't say in the middle of Ruby's Diner on a Saturday morning. Finally, Elena seemed to collect herself. She straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin. Gestures I remembered from when she was 18 and trying to be brave. "Would you like to join me?" She gestured to the booth. Our booth. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Ruby appeared with a coffee cup before I'd even settled into the red vinyl seat. "Good to see you home, Marcus." she said, her eyes twinkling with the satisfaction of someone who'd just witnessed the opening scene of a story she'd been waiting 20 years to see unfold. Elena wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, and I noticed she still wore her wedding ring, a simple gold band, not the quarter-carat diamond I'd saved for 6 months to buy her when we were too young and too in love to know any better. "So," she said, her voice carefully neutral, "you're a famous writer now." "I wouldn't say famous." She laughed, and the sound hit me like a physical blow. "Marcus, your last book was on the Times bestseller list for 16 weeks. They made it into a movie, a terrible movie, but still. You kept track?" Her cheeks flushed. "It's a small town. People talk." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 20 years pressing down on us. I had so many questions, so many things I wanted to say, but I didn't know where to start. How do you apologize for disappearing in the middle of the night? How do you explain leaving behind the only person who ever really knew you? "Why now?" Elena asked quietly. "Why come back now?" I'd practiced this answer 1,000 times on the drive from Chicago, but sitting across from her, all my carefully rehearsed words evaporated. "My dad's dying," I said simply. "Lung cancer. He's got maybe 6 months." Her face softened. "Oh, Marcus, I'm so sorry. We haven't spoken in 15 years." I traced the rim of my coffee cup with my finger. "But my sister called, said he's been asking for me, said he has things he needs to say." "And your mother?" Passed 5 years ago, heart attack." I met her eyes. "I didn't come back for the funeral." Elena reached across the table, hesitated, then covered my hand with hers. The touch sent electricity shooting up my arm. "I know," she said softly. "I went. The whole town did. We all wondered if you'd show." I turned my hand over, lacing our fingers together. It was inappropriate. She was married. I had no right. But I couldn't help myself. "I'm sorry, Elena, for everything." She squeezed my hand once, then pulled away. We were kids. Marcus. We were 18 years old. "That's no excuse for what I did." "No," she agreed. "It's not." The bell above the door chimed, and a man walked in, shaking rain from his umbrella. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of easy confidence that came from never having to question your place in the world. He scanned the diner, his face lighting up when he spotted Elena. "There you are," he said, approaching our booth. "Ruby said you were here. I thought we were meeting at 9. Elena's face had gone pale again. "David, She looked between us, flustered. "This is Marcus. Marcus Holloway. We went to high school together. Marcus, this is my husband, David Chen." I stood, extending my hand. His grip was firm, his smile genuine. Marcus Holloway, the writer? Elena has all your books. She's your biggest fan. I glanced at Elena, who was suddenly very interested in her coffee cup. Is that so? Oh, yeah. She pre-orders them and everything. Stays up all night reading when they arrive. David slid into the booth next to his wife, casually draping his arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him automatically, a gesture born of years of familiarity. What brings you back to Millbrook? Family stuff, I said vaguely. Well, you picked a hell of a time. The Harvest Festival is next weekend. The whole town goes crazy for it. He grinned. Elena's on the planning committee, has been driving herself nuts with preparations for months. You always did love the Harvest Festival, I said to Elena, remembering October nights 20 years ago, her face lit by bonfire glow, her hand in mine as we danced to the local band's terrible cover songs. Some things don't change, she said quietly. David's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowning. Damn. Emergency at the clinic. One of the Murphy's horses got tangled in barbed wire. He kissed Elena's temple as he stood. I'll see you at home. Nice meeting you. Marcus. We watched him leave, the bell chiming his departure. The ease between them, the casual intimacy, it was everything Elena and I might have had if I hadn't been a coward, if I hadn't run. He seems nice, I said. He is. Elena gathered her things, leaving money on the table. He's a good man, a good father. The word hit me like a slap. You have kids? 2. Sophia's 16. James is 14. She stood, slinging her purse over her shoulder. I should go. Elena, wait. I caught her arm gently. Can we talk? Really talk? There are things I need to say. Things I should have said 20 years ago. She looked down at my hand on her arm, then up at my face. What could you possibly say now that would make any difference? I don't know. Maybe nothing. But I need to try. She was quiet for a long moment, then sighed. The old oak tree in Riverside Park. Tonight, after dinner, 8 o'clock. She pulled free of my grip. Don't make me wait this time. Marcus. I watched her leave, the bell chiming one more time. Ruby appeared at my elbow with a coffee refill I didn't need. That went about as well as could be expected, she said. She's married. Ruby. She has a family. Ruby snorted. And you think that changes anything? You think 20 years and a wedding ring can erase what you two had? She patted my shoulder. Some stories aren't finished just because you close the book. Hun. Sometimes you got to write a new ending. I spent the rest of the day driving around Millbrook, cataloging all the ways it had changed and all the ways it hadn't. The movie theater where Elena and I had our first kiss was now a yoga studio. The record store where we'd spent hours browsing was a cell phone shop. But the bones of the town were the same. The historic downtown, the tree-lined streets, the sense that time moved differently here. I drove past my childhood home twice before finding the courage to pull into the driveway. It looked smaller than I remembered. The white clapboard siding dingy with age, the porch sagging slightly on one side. My sister's minivan was parked out front. Sarah opened the door before I could knock. Jesus, Marcus, took you long enough. She looked older, lines around her eyes and mouth that hadn't been there the last time I saw her. But her hug was fierce and familiar. "How is he?" I asked. "Stubborn, dying, still a bastard." She led me inside, and the smell hit me immediately. Antiseptic and illness and something else. Something indefinable that said this house was preparing for death. "He's upstairs. Been asking for you all morning." I climbed the stairs slowly, each creak of the old wood a memory. The door to my parents' bedroom was ajar, and I could hear the rhythmic hiss of an oxygen machine. He looked small in the bed, this man who had loomed so large in my childhood. The cancer had eaten away at him, leaving sharp angles where there should have been flesh. His eyes were closed, but they opened when I sat in the chair beside the bed. "Marcus." His voice was paper thin. "Hi, Dad." We looked at each other across 15 years of silence, 20 years of disappointment, a lifetime of things unsaid. "You look like your mother," he said finally. "So I've been told." He coughed, a wet, rattling sound. "I read your books." I couldn't hide my surprise. "You did?" "Everyone. Sarah brought them." He shifted, grimacing. "You're a good writer, better than good." "Thank you." That first one, the one about the boy who runs away. His eyes, still sharp despite the morphine, fixed on mine. That was about us, wasn't it? About me. I thought about lying, but what was the point now? Yes. He nodded slowly. I figured. Recognized myself in the father. Didn't much like what I saw. "Dad!" "No. Let me finish. Don't have much time left for conversations. Might as well make this one count." He took a labored breath. "I was a hard man. Marcus. Too hard. Thought I was preparing you for the world, but all I did was drive you away. You did what you thought was best, He laughed, a sound like grinding gears. "Did I? Or did I do what was easy? It's easy to be angry, son. Easy to be disappointed. Harder to understand. Harder to forgive." I thought of Elena, of the look in her eyes this morning. "Yes," I said quietly. "It is." "I'm sorry," he said, "for all of it." for making you feel like you had to run to become who you were meant to be, for letting pride keep me from picking up the phone for 15 years, for waiting until I was dying to say the things I should have said when it mattered. Tears burned my eyes. Dad, I'm sorry too. For leaving, for staying away, for being too stubborn to come home. You're here now, he said. That's what matters. We sat in silence for a while. The oxygen machine keeping time. Finally, he spoke again. You seen Elena yet? The question surprised me. This morning, at Ruby's. She's still married to the veterinarian. Yes. Good man. David Chen takes good care of her. He studied me. But he's not you. Dad! I was at the train station that night, he said suddenly. The night you left. Saw you there with your one suitcase, looking like the world was ending. Almost went to you. Almost asked you to stay. My heart clenched. Why didn't you? Because I saw Elena there too, hiding behind the newspaper stand, watching you go. Saw her collapse when the train pulled away. He closed his eyes. Knew then I'd already lost you. Knew if I tried to make you stay, you'd hate me forever. So I let you go. She was there? My voice came out strangled. Of course she was. Girl loved you more than life itself. Probably still does. She's married, Dad. She has kids. And you think that changes anything? He coughed again. Love like that doesn't die, son. It just learns to live with disappointment. I stayed with him until he fell asleep. Then went downstairs to find Sarah in the kitchen, stress baking like she always did when things got hard. The counter was covered in cookies. How long does he really have? I asked. A doctor says 2 months, maybe 3. But you know Dad. He'll hang on out of pure stubbornness. She handed me a still warm chocolate chip cookie. You staying? I don't know. Maybe. For a while. Good. He needs you here. We all do. She paused. I heard Elena's husband is out of town next week. Some veterinary conference in Boston. I looked at her sharply. Sarah. I'm just saying. 20 years is a long time to leave things unfinished. At 7:45, I was sitting on the bench under the old oak tree in Riverside Park. The rain had stopped, but the air was heavy with moisture, the leaves above me still dripping occasionally. This tree had been our place once, where we'd carved our initials, where we'd planned our future, where we'd made promises we were too young to keep. Elena appeared at exactly 8 o'clock, wrapped in a rain jacket that made her look younger somehow. She sat on the opposite end of the bench, maintaining careful distance between us. I wasn't sure you'd come, I said. And I wasn't sure either. She pulled her jacket tighter. But I realized I had questions. 20 years worth of questions. Ask me anything. She turned to face me fully. Why did you leave without saying goodbye? The question I'd been dreading and expecting in equal measure. Because I was a coward, I said simply. Because I knew if I looked at you, if I had to see your face, I'd never be able to go. Ma, go where? What was so important that you had to leave in the middle of the night like a thief? New York. I'd gotten into Columbia. Full scholarship. She stared at me. Columbia? But you were going to state with me. We had it all planned. I know. But the acceptance letter came in May, and suddenly there was this whole other life possible. A life my father couldn't control, couldn't touch. I ran my hand through my hair. I was so angry then. Elena, at him, at this town, at everything except you. And I knew if I stayed, that anger would poison us eventually. So you left, without a word. I woke up and you were just gone. Her voice cracked. Do you know what that did to me? I'm sorry, God. Elena, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 20 years. Marcus. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. I waited for you, for 2 years. I waited, turned down dates, turned down opportunities, because I was sure you'd come back, sure you'd realize we belonged together. Elena. And then one day I woke up and realized you weren't coming back, that whatever we had wasn't enough to make you stay. She wiped her eyes angrily. So I moved on. I built a life, a good life. I married a man who loves me, who stays, who chooses me every single day. I know. I'm glad. Are you? She laughed bitterly. Because Ruby seems to think you came back for me, that all those books about lost love and second chances are really about us. I was quiet for a moment, choosing my words carefully. Every story I've ever written has you in it somewhere, I admitted. Every heroine has your laugh, or your way of tilting your head when you're thinking, or that little crease you get between your eyebrows when you're mad. Like now? Like now. I shifted closer, and she didn't pull away. But I didn't come back for you. Elena, I came back for my father, finding you here, married, happy. That's what I deserve, the consequence of my choices. Then why are we here? Why did I agree to meet you in our place if you're not trying to? She stopped, shaking her head. What do you want from me, Marcus? Forgiveness, I said simply. Just forgiveness. I don't expect anything else. She was quiet for so long, I thought she might just get up and leave. Then, softly, you know what the worst part was? Not that you left. I could have understood leaving. It was that you didn't trust me enough to tell me. Didn't think I loved you enough to want what was best for you. even if it meant letting you go. You would have talked me out of it. No, she said firmly. I would have gone with you. The words hung between us, heavy with possibility and regret. And I know, I whispered. That's what I was afraid of. Afraid? Why? Because you deserved better than to give up your dreams for mine. You wanted to be a teacher, to stay near your family, to build a life here. I couldn't ask you to sacrifice that for my anger, my need to escape. That wasn't your choice to make. No, I agreed. It wasn't. Just another mistake in a long list of them. We sat in silence, watching the last of the daylight fade. The park was empty except for us and the ghosts of who we used to be. I teach now, Elena said suddenly. 3rd grade, at the same elementary school we went to. That's wonderful. And you? Is the writing life everything you dreamed? I thought about my empty apartment in Chicago, the awards on the shelf, the movie deals and book tours. It's a life, I said. Successful by any measure, lonely by most. You never married? No. Came close once or twice, but I shrugged. Turns out when you spend 20 years writing about the one who got away, it's hard to move forward. Marcus, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty or responsible. These were my choices. I turned to face her fully. Can you forgive me? Elena? Not forget. I'm not asking for that. But forgive? She reached out, touched my face gently. I forgave you a long time ago. Marcus. Had to. For my own sanity. What I can't figure out is if you've forgiven yourself. No, I said honestly. Not yet. Maybe it's time, she said softly. The church bells chimed 9 o'clock, and Elena stood. I should go. David will be home soon. I stood too, shoving my hands in my pockets to keep from reaching for her. Thank you. For meeting me, for listening. She started to walk away, then turned back. There's a faculty position opening up at the community college. Creative writing. I heard about it at the last school board meeting. Elena? I'm not suggesting anything, just information, in case you decide to stay for a while. She paused. Your father would like that, having you home. I watched her walk away, disappearing into the darkness between the streetlights. The smart thing would be to leave now, to go back to Chicago and my empty apartment and my successful, lonely life. To let Elena keep her happiness, her family, her carefully constructed world. But I thought about my father, dying alone in that house, about Sarah, surrounded by cookies and worry, about the way Elena's hand had felt in mine this morning, familiar as breathing. Maybe Ruby was right. Maybe some stories needed new endings. I walked back to my rental car, but instead of driving to the motel, I found myself parked outside the house on Maple Street. Our house, Elena's and David's. It was a beautiful Victorian, painted yellow with white trim, the kind of house Elena had always dreamed of. The windows glowed warmly, and I could see shadows moving inside. Family life happening without me. I was about to drive away when the front door opened and a teenage girl stepped onto the porch. She was taking out the trash, and in the porch light, I could see her clearly, dark hair like her mother's, but something in the shape of her face, the way she moved. My heart stopped. She looked like me, not obviously, not in a way anyone would notice unless they were looking for it. But I saw it, in the line of her jaw, the way she stood with her weight slightly to one side, the gesture she made pushing her hair back. I did the math frantically. Sophia, Elena had said, 16 years old, which meant conceived roughly 17 years ago. 3 years after I left. Well after Elena married David. Unless... The girl went back inside, and I sat in my car, hands shaking. It wasn't possible. Elena would have told me. She wouldn't have kept something like that from me. Would she? I thought about this morning, the way she'd paled when I walked in, the wedding ring she still wore, David's easy acceptance, his genuine warmth. He knew who I was, clearly. But did he know everything? My phone buzzed. Sarah, where are you? Dad's asking for you. I drove back to my childhood home in a daze. My father was awake, more alert than he'd been earlier. Can't sleep, he said when I sat beside his bed. Never could when your mother wasn't here. I know the feeling. He studied me. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I have. I hesitated, then asked, Dad, when exactly did Elena get married? His eyes sharpened. About 6 months after you left. Surprised everyone. David Chen had just moved to town. New vet taking over old Doc Morrison's practice. They met. Fell in love fast. Got married faster. He paused meaningfully. Had their first baby 7 months later. The room spun. Sophia. Pretty girl. Smart like her mama. He watched me carefully. Looks a bit like your mother around the eyes. I always thought. Dad. I'm not saying anything. Just observing. He coughed. David's a good man. Raised that girl like his own. Never a word otherwise. But small towns have long memories. And some of us can count. Does Elena know that people... Suspect? Maybe. But nobody says anything. Elena's one of our own. We protect our own. He reached out, gripped my hand with surprising strength. Some secrets are better left buried, son. Some kindnesses are better left undisturbed. but I couldn't let it go. The possibility gnawed at me through the night as I sat by my father's bedside. By morning, I'd made a decision. I found Elena at the elementary school, setting up her classroom for Monday. She looked up when I knocked on the open door, and I saw the truth in her eyes before either of us spoke. "She's mine, isn't she?" I said quietly. Elena's face crumpled. She sank into her desk chair, covering her face with her hands. "How did you know?" "She looks like my mother, and the timeline." I closed the door behind me, pulled up a tiny third-grade chair. "Why didn't you tell me?" "To tell you?" She looked up, eyes flashing. "How? You disappeared without a trace. No forwarding address. No phone number. It took me 6 months just to find out you were at Columbia. And by then you were married." "But David saved me," she said simply. "I was pregnant, alone, terrified. My parents were devastated. In 2004, in a small town like this, being an unwed mother was still a scandal. And then David appeared, this kind, decent man who didn't care that I was carrying another man's child, who offered to marry me, to give the baby a name, a father." "And you loved him?" "I learned to love him. He earned it. Every day." She wiped her eyes. "He's been a wonderful father to Sophia, to both our children." "Does she know?" "No, and she never will." Elena's voice turned fierce. "She has a father, one who's been there for every recital, every soccer game, every heartbreak. You don't get to waltz in after 16 years and claim her." "I'm not trying to claim anyone. I just..." "Christ. Elena, I have a daughter." "No," she said firmly. "David has a daughter. You have regrets." The words stung because they were true. I'd given up any right to Sophia the night I got on that train. "Does David know?" Elena was quiet for a moment. "We've never discussed it explicitly, but he's not stupid. He knows she was conceived before we met. Whether he's done the math about exactly when..." She shrugged. "He's never asked, and I've never told. He's a better man than I am." "Yes," she said simply. "He is." We sat in the elementary classroom, surrounded by construction paper leaves and multiplication tables, grappling with the weight of choices made 20 years ago. "I won't say anything," I said finally. "To anyone. She's your daughter, yours and David's. I'm just the writer who used to know her mother." Elena studied me for a long moment. "You're staying in town." "For a while, until..." I couldn't finish the sentence. "Until my father died. Sarah thinks I should apply for that teaching position. It would be complicated. You being here..." I know." Painful. Yes. She stood, smoothing her skirt. The application deadline is Friday. The interview committee meets next week. A pause. I'm on the committee. Of course you are. I'll recuse myself. Conflict of interest. Because we went to high school together? Something like that. She moved to the door, then turned back. Marcus, that summer after graduation, before you left, were you happy? With me? I mean, were we happy? We were everything, I said honestly. She nodded, a sad smile playing at her lips. I thought so too. The next few days passed in a blur. I spent my mornings with my father, watching him fade a little more each day. Afternoons I spent writing in my motel room, but for the first time in years, the words wouldn't come. How could I write about love and loss when I was living it? I applied for the teaching position on Thursday. On Friday, I ran into David at the grocery store. Marcus, he said warmly. Heard you might be sticking around. Thinking about it. Good. Town could use some fresh blood. Well, fresh-ish. He grinned. Elena mentioned you applied at the college. Between you and me, I think you're a shoo-in. The other candidates are fresh out of grad school. You've got actual publishing credits. Thanks. Thanks. He studied me for a moment, and I wondered what he saw. You know, Elena's been different since you came back. Distracted, nostalgic, maybe. My heart clenched. David, I'm not trying to. I know you're not. He cut me off gently. And I know Elena. She's not the type to. Well, she's loyal, sometimes to a fault. She loves you. Yes, she does. He picked up a can of soup, examined it like it held the secrets of the universe. But there are different kinds of love, aren't there? The love you choose, and the love that chooses you. David, I'm going to that conference next week. 5 days in Boston. I thought about canceling, what with you being in town and all. He put the soup in his cart. But then I thought, maybe some space would be good. Let Elena figure out what she needs to figure out. Chuck, you're a good man, I said, meaning it. I try to be. He started to walk away, then turned back. I've read your books, you know. All of them. You're a hell of a writer, Marcus. But life isn't a novel. Sometimes the best ending isn't the most dramatic one. I thought about his words that night as I sat with my father. He was having a bad day, the pain evident despite the morphine. Sarah had gone home to feed her family, leaving us alone. Tell me about your life, he said suddenly. Your real life, not the biography on your book jackets. So I told him about the tiny apartment in New York where I'd written my first novel on a secondhand laptop, about the rejections, the breakthrough, the surreal experience of seeing my words in print, about the women I dated but couldn't love, the success that felt hollow, the way I'd never been able to write a happy ending that felt true. You punished yourself, he said when I finished, for leaving, for choosing yourself over her. Maybe. Definitely. He shifted, grimacing. You want to know what my biggest regret is? What? That I made you feel like you had to choose. That I made this house, this town, feel like a prison instead of a home. He met my eyes. I pushed you away, son. And you've been pushing yourself away ever since. Dad! Let me finish. I don't have many more chances to say this. He took a labored breath. You came back for me, but I'm dying. Soon I'll be gone, and you'll have to decide if you're staying for you, for the life you could have here, for her. She's married, Dad. She is. And that matters. But it doesn't change the fact that you love her, that you've always loved her. He closed his eyes. Don't waste another 20 years. Marcus, whatever happens, don't waste the time. The Harvest Festival arrived with all the fanfare I remembered. The whole town transformed. Hay bales and corn stalks on every corner, the smell of apple cider and kettle corn in the air. I went because Sarah insisted, because my father was having a good day and wanted to hear about it later, because I couldn't spend another day in that motel room staring at a blank page. I saw Elena before she saw me. She was at the elementary school booth, face-painting kids with the focused intensity she brought to everything. She'd painted whiskers on a little boy who couldn't stop giggling, and her laugh carried across the crowd to where I stood. Mr. Holloway! I turned to find Sophia Chen bearing down on me, a bright smile on her face. My daughter. The thought still took my breath away. Hi, I managed. Mom said you might be here. I'm Sophia. I'm in the creative writing club at school, and I just wanted to say I love your books. Like, seriously love them. I've read When the Light Fades probably 10 times. I looked at this girl, my daughter, and tried to keep my voice steady. Thank you. That means a lot. Would you maybe consider coming to talk to our club? We meet Wednesdays after school. I know you're probably super busy, but it would be amazing. I'd be honored. She beamed, and I saw Elena in her smile. Awesome. I'll tell Mrs. Patterson. She's going to flip. She started to leave, then turned back. Is it weird being back? Mom says you haven't been home in forever. A little weird, I admitted, but good weird. Cool. Well, see you around. She bounced off, joining a group of friends near the carnival rides. She's something, isn't she? I turned to find David beside me, holding 2 cups of cider. He offered me one. She's remarkable, I said, taking the cup gratefully. Gets that from her mother. The stubbornness, too. He sipped his cider. She wants to be a writer, you know. Has since she was little. Elena always said it was in her blood. I nearly choked on my drink. David patted my back. Easy there. When I recovered, he continued casually. I leave for Boston tomorrow. Conference runs through Thursday. I know. Elena's been stressed about the festival. Might be nice if someone checked on her. Made sure she's not working herself too hard. He finished his cider, crumpled the cup. Just a thought. Before I could respond, he was walking away, calling out to someone about a sick cow. I stood there, wondering if I'd just been given permission or a warning. That night, my father took a turn. Sarah called at midnight, panicked. By the time I got to the house, the paramedics were already there. We followed the ambulance to the hospital, where they stabilized him and said words like pneumonia and complications and make him comfortable. I called in sick to the interview at the college, unable to leave his bedside. Elena came by on Tuesday, bringing coffee and sitting with me in silence while machines beeped and my father struggled to breathe. David told me, she said quietly. I'm so sorry. Marcus. He was doing better. I thought we had more time. We always think we have more time. She squeezed my hand. What can I do? This is enough. You being here. We sat together through the afternoon, not talking about Sophia or David or the 20 years between us, just being present, the way we used to be able to do when we were young. My father woke near sunset. He looked between Elena and me, a faint smile on his lips. Elena, he whispered. Still beautiful. I still a charmer, she said, tears in her eyes. He beckoned me closer. Take care of each other, he said. So quietly, I almost missed it. Promise me. Dad. Promise. I promise, I said. He died 2 hours later. Sarah and I on either side of his bed. Elena had gone home to her family, but her presence lingered like perfume. The funeral was Thursday. The whole town came, as they do in places like Millbrook. I stood at the graveside, accepting condolences from people I barely remembered, feeling untethered. My last connection to this place was being lowered into the ground. He was proud of you, Elena said, appearing at my elbow as the crowd dispersed. He told everyone about your books, kept copies at the hardware store to show customers. I didn't know that. There's a lot you don't know about how much you were loved here. Are loved. She adjusted her black dress. David gets back tonight. I should go. Elena, wait. I caught her hand. Can I see you later? I mean, there are things I need to tell you. She looked at our joined hands. Marcus. Please, just once more. Then I'll leave you alone if that's what you want. She was quiet for so long, I thought she'd refuse. Then, the old Miller property. The barn where we used to. Where we spent that last summer. Midnight. Elena! But she was already walking away, heels clicking on the cemetery path. I spent the evening with Sarah, going through Dad's things, dividing memories into boxes marked keep, donate, trash. She found his collection of my books, each one annotated in his careful handwriting. Notes like, "This is about us," and "He got this right," and "I remember this differently." A conversation we never got to have. At 11:30, I drove out to the Miller property. The farm had been abandoned for years, but the barn still stood, a monument to teenage dreams and adult regrets. I parked behind it, out of sight from the road, and waited. Elena arrived at exactly midnight, dressed in jeans and the Columbia sweatshirt I'd sent her freshman year. The sight of it nearly broke me. "You kept it," I said. "Hidden in the back of my closet. David thinks it's from my cousin who went there." She pulled the sleeves down over her hands, a gesture I remembered from when we were 18, and she was nervous. "I shouldn't be here." "But you are." "But I am." She leaned against my car. "What did you need to tell me?" I'd rehearsed this speech 100 times, but standing here, in this place where we'd loved each other so completely, words failed me. So I did what I should have done 20 years ago. I told her the truth. "I love you," I said simply. "I've loved you every day for 20 years. I loved you when I was 18 and too scared to stay. I loved you when I was 25 and too proud to come back. I loved you when I was 30 and realized I'd ruined the best thing in my life. And I love you now, even though you belong to someone else." "Marcus, let me finish, please." I took a breath. I know I have no right to these feelings, no right to disrupt your life. You have a good husband, beautiful children, a life you've built without me, and maybe that's as it should be. But my father was right. I've wasted 20 years punishing myself, and I can't waste any more. "What are you saying?" "I'm staying. I'm taking that job if they'll have me. I'm going to be part of this town again. Part of your life, even if it's just as an old friend. Because being near you, even if I can't have you, is better than being successful and empty 1,000 miles away." She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "You can't do that to me. You can't come back here and say these things when I've worked so hard to move on. I'm not asking you to leave David. I'm not asking for anything except the chance to know you again, to be in Sophia's life, even if she never knows who I really am, to stop running from the only place that ever felt like home. And if I can't handle it, if seeing you every day, wanting you every day, is too much, I stepped closer, close enough to see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. Then tell me to go, and I will. Right now, say the word, and I'll leave tonight and never come back. She looked up at me, and 20 years collapsed into nothing. We were 18 again, young and desperate and so in love it physically hurt. I can't, she whispered. God help me. I can't tell you to go. I kissed her then, and it was like coming home. 20 years of longing, of regret, of love that never died poured into that kiss. She kissed me back with equal desperation, hands fisting in my shirt, pulling me closer. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. This doesn't change anything, she said. I'm still married. I still have children who need stability. I can't leave David. He doesn't deserve that. I know. So what do we do? I don't know, I admitted. But we'll figure it out, day by day, moment by moment, the way we should have 20 years ago. She rested her forehead against mine. I thought I was over you. I really did. I thought 20 years and a good marriage and 2 kids meant I was cured of Marcus Holloway. And then you walked into Ruby's, and I couldn't breathe. She pulled back. I have to go. David will be home soon. Okay. She started toward her car, then turned back. That teaching job? You'll get it. I made sure of that before I recused myself. A small smile. Welcome home, Marcus. I watched her drive away, taillights disappearing into the darkness. The barn loomed behind me, full of ghosts and memories. But for the first time in 20 years, I wasn't running from them. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. I started teaching at the community college, finding unexpected joy in eager young writers who reminded me why I'd fallen in love with words in the first place. I moved into a small house on the edge of town, close enough to be part of things, but far enough to give Elena space. We were careful, she and I, polite greetings at the grocery store, friendly waves at school events, nothing that would set tongues wagging in a town that thrived on gossip. But there were moments, our fingers brushing when she handed me a program at Sophia's school play, a shared laugh at something one of the kids said, eyes meeting across a crowded room that felt like everything. David knew. I was certain of it. The way he'd shake my hand a little too firmly at town events, the way he'd casually mention plans with Elena whenever I was within earshot. He was marking his territory, and I couldn't blame him. In his place, I'd do the same. Sophia started coming to my office hours, bringing stories that showed real promise. She had Elena's attention to detail and, apparently, my inability to write happy endings. "Why does everyone in your stories leave?" I asked her one afternoon, reading through her latest piece. She shrugged, adolescent uncertainty replacing her usual confidence. "I don't know. It just feels more realistic. You know? Like, people always leave. That's what they do." "Not always," I said carefully. "Sometimes they come back." "Yeah, but by then it's usually too late, right? Like, the damage is done." I thought of Elena, of 20 years of damage. Maybe. Or maybe coming back is how you start to fix things. She considered this. That would make a good story, actually. Someone who left coming back to make amends. She looked at me curiously. "Is that why you came back? To make amends?" "Something like that, Mom says you and she were close in high school. Like, really close." My heart rate picked up. "We were good friends. Yes." "Just friends?" She had Elena's piercing gaze, the one that saw through bullshit. "Because sometimes when she talks about you, it seems like more." "Sophia." "It's okay. I'm not a little kid. I know Mom had a life before Dad. I just wonder sometimes." She trailed off. "Wonder what?" "If she ever thinks about what would have happened if you'd stayed." She gathered her papers. "Anyway, thanks for reading my story. Same time next week?" Of course. After she left, I sat in my empty office, wondering how much she suspected, how much she saw with those eyes that were so like mine. Winter came early that year, blanketing Millbrook in snow by Thanksgiving. I spent the holiday with Sarah and her family, trying not to think about Elena at home with hers. But that night, my phone buzzed. "Elena, thank you for the book recommendation for Sophia. She loved it." "Me. She's got good taste. Gets that from her mother." "Elena, among other things." I stared at those 3 words for a long time, reading meaning into them that might not be there. "Me, how was your Thanksgiving?" Elena, loud, chaotic, good. "Yours?" Me, quiet, too much pie, also good. Elena, I'm glad you stayed. Marcus. Me, so am I. Elena, even though it's complicated? Me, especially because it's complicated. The best things usually are. She didn't respond, but I could imagine her smiling. December brought the Christmas festival, and with it, a problem. The Creative Writing Club was doing a reading, and Sophia had chosen to read a story about a girl discovering her father wasn't her biological father. It was fiction, she insisted, totally made up. But the parallels were too close. The details too specific. You can't read this, I told her gently after class. Why not? It's good, isn't it? You said it was good. It is good, very good. But Sophia, sometimes stories hit too close to home. She stared at me, and I saw the moment understanding dawned. Oh my God. You think this is about me? Isn't it? No. I mean, maybe subconsciously. But she sank into a chair. Do you think other people will think that? Do you think Mom and Dad will? I don't know. Maybe. She was quiet for a moment. Mr. Holloway, can I ask you something? And will you tell me the truth? My heart was pounding. If I can. That summer before you left for college, were you and my mom together? Like, together? I chose my words carefully. Your mom and I were very close, yes. How close? Sophia. Because sometimes I look at you and I see, I don't know, something familiar. She laughed shakily. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? Not crazy. But Sophia, your dad is David Chen, the man who raised you, who loves you, who's been there every day of your life. Biology doesn't change that. She looked at me sharply. That's a weird thing to say unless... Her face went pale. Oh my God. Sophia... But she was already grabbing her backpack, rushing for the door. I have to go. I need to think. I should have called Elena immediately, warned her. But I sat frozen in my office, terrified of what I'd just set in motion. The call came 2 hours later. Elena, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. My office, now. She was pacing when I arrived, energy crackling around her like electricity. What did you say to her? She demanded. She asked if we were together that summer. She said she saw something familiar when she looked at me. And I told her David was her father. That biology doesn't change that. Elena stopped pacing. You confirmed it. Without saying it, you confirmed it. She'd already figured it out. Elena, she's smart like her mother. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't you dare make jokes right now. Do you have any idea what you've done? She's locked in her room. Won't talk to me or David. She's 16 years old. Marcus. She wasn't ready for this. I'm sorry. I didn't mean... You never mean to, do you? You just act and leave the rest of us to clean up the mess. She sank into her chair. David's on his way home. We're going to have to tell him everything. What can I do? You've done enough." She looked at me, and the pain in her eyes was devastating. "I think you should go. Back to Chicago. Tonight." "Elena." "Please, Marcus, if you love me at all, if you love her, you'll go. Let us handle this as a family. The family we've been for 16 years without you." I wanted to fight, to refuse, to claim my place in this mess I'd helped create. But she was right. I'd forfeited my claim 20 years ago. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll go." "Thank you." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Elena, tell her. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her it was never about her. It was always about me being too much of a coward to stay." I drove back to Chicago that night, through snow and darkness, feeling like I was 18 again and running from everything that mattered. But this time, I left my phone on, watching for any word from Millbrook. It came 3 days later, not from Elena, but from Sophia. "Mr. Holloway, it's Sophia Chen. Can we talk?" My hands shook as I answered, "Of course." Mom told me everything. About you two. About why you left. About me. Her voice was steady. Older than her 16 years. "I'm pretty mad at everyone right now." "You have every right to be. But mostly I'm confused. Like, David's my dad. He's the one who taught me to ride a bike and came to my soccer games and held my hair when I had the flu. But you're also my... What? My father? My biological contributor?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "I don't think there's a good word for what I am to you. Mom says you didn't know about me." "No, I didn't. If I had, you would have come back? Would I? At 22, angry and ambitious and terrified of becoming my father?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I'd like to think so, but I was young and stupid and selfish. I might have made the same mistake." "At least you're honest." She paused. "Mom also said you're in love with her. Still." "That's between your mom and me." "No, it's not. Not when it affects my family." Her voice turned fierce. "Are you trying to break up my parents?" "No, God, no. I would never. Your mom loves your dad, and he's a good man. Better than I am." "Then why did you come back?" "Because my father was dying. Because I'd run out of excuses to stay away. Because 20 years of regret gets heavy to carry." She was quiet for a long moment. "I read all your books this week. Stayed up all night finishing them. They're all about her, aren't they? About Mom?" "Yes." "That's actually really romantic. Like, super messed up. but romantic. Another pause. Are you coming back? To Millbrook? I don't think so. Your mom thinks it's better if I stay away. What do you think? I think your mom's usually right about things. Yeah, she is. I could hear voices in the background. I have to go. But Mr. Holloway? Marcus? I'm glad we talked. And I'm glad I know the truth. Even if it's complicated. And maybe when things aren't so weird, we could talk again about writing and stuff. I'd like that, I said through the lump in my throat. Cool. Okay. Bye. I sat in my empty Chicago apartment, staring at the phone. My daughter, I could think of her that way now, wanted to talk again. About writing and stuff. It wasn't much, but it was more than I'd had any right to hope for. 2 weeks before Christmas, Elena called. We're okay, she said without preamble. The family, we're working through it, but we're okay. I'm glad. David's been amazing. He knew, has known for years. Said he was waiting for Sophia to figure it out on her own. He's a good man. Like the best. She paused. Sophia wants you to come back. My heart jumped. She does. She says the Creative Writing Club needs you. That Ms. Patterson is nice, but doesn't know anything about actually getting published. I could hear the smile in her voice. She's not wrong. What do you want, Elena? I want impossible things. I want to be 18 again and brave enough to go with you. I want to be 38 and married to a good man without feeling like my heart is split in two. I want my daughter to know her biological father without losing the dad who raised her. Her voice cracked. I want to stop loving you, but I can't seem to manage it. Elena! Come back, she said quietly. Not for me. For Sophia. She needs to know you, and you need to know her. We'll figure out the rest. And David? David says biology doesn't make a father, but it doesn't unmake one either. There's room in Sophia's life for both of you, if you're willing to share. Of course I'm willing. Then come home, Marcus. Come home for Christmas. So I did. I drove back to Millbrook on December 23rd, car loaded with gifts and hope, and the manuscript of a new novel, the first one with a happy ending I actually believed in. Sarah hugged me at her door. Heard you were back. Again. Can't seem to stay away. Good. Mom would have wanted us together for Christmas. She pulled me inside where the house smelled like gingerbread and pine. Fair warning, the whole Chen family is coming for Christmas Eve dinner tomorrow. I may have invited them before checking with you. Sarah! It was Sophia's idea. Actually, she said, and I quote, If we're going to be weird, we might as well be weird together. She grinned. Smart kid. Wonder where she gets it. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow and nervous energy. I changed shirts 3 times before Sarah told me to stop being ridiculous. But when the doorbell rang, my hands were still shaking. David entered first, carrying a casserole dish. He shook my hand firmly. "Marcus, good to have you back." "Oh, David, thanks for everything." He held my gaze. "We're family now, all of us. Might as well get used to it." James came next, Elena's younger child, all gangly 14-year-old energy. He gave me a curious look, but was quickly distracted by Sarah's kids and the promise of video games. Sophia hung back, suddenly shy. "Hi," she said. "Hi. This is weird, right? Like super weird?" "Super weird," I agreed. "Cool. As long as we're on the same page." She thrust a wrapped gift at me. "Mom said I should give you this." I opened it to find a leather journal. "For your next novel," embossed on the cover. "Thank you. It's perfect." See, Mom picked it out, but I chose the inscription. She shifted nervously. "So, do I call you Marcus? Mr. Holloway? Dad? 2. The sequel?" I laughed, surprising us both. "How about we start with Marcus and see how it goes?" "Deal." She grinned, and it was my mother's smile on Elena's face. "Mom's in the kitchen, by the way. She's nervous too, if that helps." I found Elena arranging cookies on a plate with the focused intensity of someone trying not to think. She looked up when I entered, and 20 years of history passed between us in a glance. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi. Thank you for coming. Thank you for asking me." We stood there, surrounded by Sarah's kitchen chaos, not touching but aware of every inch between us. "I have something for you," I said, pulling out the manuscript, an advance copy. She read the title page, "Coming Home" by Marcus Holloway. She looked up. "Happy ending?" "The happiest I could manage." "Dedication?" I'd agonized over it for days. For Ia, who taught me that some loves are worth the wait, and for S, who taught me that some truths are worth telling. She pressed the manuscript to her chest, tears in her eyes. "Marcus." "Dinner's ready," Sarah called. "Everyone to the table." We gathered around Sarah's dining room, this strange, complicated family. David carved the turkey while Elena poured wine. Sophia regaled us with stories from school while James rolled his eyes at his sister's dramatics. Sarah's kids demanded attention and dessert in equal measure. And I sat there, overwhelmed by the grace of it all, the forgiveness, the possibility. After dinner, we exchanged gifts. I'd gotten Sophia a first edition of her favorite novel, which made her squeal in a very un-16-year-old way. For James, a gift card, because 14-year-old boys are impossible. For David, a bottle of good scotch that earned me an approving nod. When I handed Elena her gift, a small wrapped box, the room went quiet. "You didn't have to," she said. "Open it." Inside was a simple silver bracelet with 2 charms, a tiny book and an oak tree. "Our place," she whispered. "Yours now," I said. "But I thought you might want the reminder." She fastened it on her wrist with shaking hands. "Thank you." Later, after the kids had disappeared to various corners of the house and David was helping Sarah with dishes, Elena and I found ourselves on the front porch, watching the snow fall. "This is complicated," she said. "Yes. But good complicated? The best kind." She leaned into me slightly, not quite touching, but close enough that I could feel her warmth. "What happens now?" "I don't know. We take it day by day. I get to know Sophia. You and David continue your life. I write. I teach. We see what grows in the spaces between." "That sounds lonely for you." "Less lonely than the last 20 years. She turned to face me. "Marcus, I need you to understand something. I love David. I'm not leaving him. He's been too good to me, to us, for me to repay him that way." I know. But I love you too. I've never stopped. And that's not fair to anyone, but it's the truth. I know that too. So what do we do with that? With love that has nowhere to go? I thought about it. Watching the snow blanket the street where we'd learned to ride bikes, where we'd walked to school, where we'd been young and sure of everything. "We let it be," I said finally. "We let it exist without demanding it become something else. We love our daughter together, even if we can't be together. We're friends, family, whatever you need me to be. And if what I need changes, then we'll deal with that when it happens." She reached over, took my hand. "You've changed. You're not the boy who ran anymore." "No. That boy got tired of running." I squeezed her hand. "I'm home now. Whatever that means, however it looks. I'm home." The door opened and Sophia stuck her head out. "Mom, Marcus, we're starting a movie if you want to join." Elena let go of my hand. "We'll be right in." As Sophia disappeared back inside, Elena stood. "She likes you, you know, thinks you're cool. God help us all." "She's pretty cool herself." Yeah, she is. Elena paused at the door. Marcus, I'm glad you came back. Both times, it's messier this way, but better. Fuller. More honest. Like a novel with a complicated ending? Exactly like that. We went inside to join our strange, beautiful, complicated family. David made room for me on the couch. Sophia curled up between her parents. James sprawled on the floor. Sarah brought popcorn and unnecessary commentary. The movie played, some Christmas comedy I'd never seen. But I wasn't watching. I was memorizing this moment, this unlikely grace, this second chance I'd done nothing to deserve. After the movie, as everyone prepared to leave, Sophia approached me. So, I've been thinking about that story. The one you said I shouldn't read at the festival? What about it? I want to rewrite it, make it less obvious, but keep the emotional truth. You know, about how biology doesn't define family, but it doesn't erase it either. About how sometimes people leave not because they don't love you, but because they don't know how to stay. That sounds like a story worth telling. Will you help me, like mentor me or whatever? I'd be honored. She hugged me then. Quick and awkward, but real. Cool. See you next week? See you next week? The Chens left in a flurry of coats and leftover containers. David shook my hand again, leaning in close. Thank you, he said quietly, for coming back, for being who she needed you to be. Thank you, I replied, for being who I couldn't be. He nodded, understanding passing between us. Take care of them, he said, in whatever way you can. I will. Elena was the last to leave. She stood in the doorway, snow catching in her hair. Merry Christmas, Marcus. Merry Christmas, Elena. She started down the walk, then turned back. The new book, Coming Home. Send it to me when it's published. I want to see how our story ends. It doesn't, I called after her. End. I mean, it just keeps going. Day by day. Chapter by chapter. She smiled. That same smile that had undone me at 18 and still undid me at 38. Good. I like stories that don't end. I watched until their taillights disappeared around the corner. Then I went back inside to help Sarah clean up, to be part of a family again, to continue writing this complicated, messy, beautiful story of coming home. 6 months later, I stood in the elementary school auditorium, watching Sophia read her revised story to a packed audience. She'd titled it Roots and Wings, about a girl who discovers she has two fathers, one who gave her roots and one who gave her wings, and how she needs both to truly fly. Elena sat in the front row with David, both of them wiping away tears. I stood in the back, trying to be inconspicuous, but Sophia found me in the crowd and smiled. My daughter. Not mine to claim, but mine to love. After the reading, she bounded over to me. So, what did you think? Too sentimental? Perfect, I said honestly. Absolutely perfect. Mom cried. Dad too, but he'll deny it. She looked at me seriously. I'm thinking about expanding it, maybe into a novel, about families that don't fit into neat categories but work anyway. I know a good editor when you're ready. Cool. She hesitated. Marcus? I'm glad you're here, in my life. It's weird and complicated, and sometimes I don't know how to explain it to my friends. But I'm glad. Me too, kid. Me too. Elena appeared then, radiant with pride. She was amazing, wasn't she? Gets it from her mother, I said, 6 months. Among other things, Elena replied, echoing her text from months ago. We stood there, the three of us, bound by DNA and circumstance and choices made 20 years ago. David joined us, naturally fitting into our odd quartet, and I marveled again at the expansiveness of love, its ability to grow and adapt and include. Ice cream to celebrate, David suggested. My treat. Can Marcus come? Sophia asked. Of course, David said easily. Family celebration. As we walked to the ice cream shop, Sophia chatting animatedly about her next story. Elena's bracelet catching the light. David discussing the merits of various flavors. I thought about the novel sitting on my editor's desk. Coming Home. The story of a man who learns that sometimes the longest journey is the one that brings you back to where you started. Changed by time, but finally ready to stay. It had taken me 20 years to write an ending I believed in. 20 years to understand that happy endings don't always look the way we expect. Sometimes they look like shared custody of love, like families that expand rather than break, like coming home to find that the door was always open, even when you didn't deserve it. Sophia grabbed my arm, pulling me into a debate about chocolate versus vanilla, and I let myself be pulled. Let myself belong to this moment, this family, this complicated and perfect life. I was finally home, and this time, I was staying. As we entered the ice cream shop, the bell chiming above the door, I caught Elena's eye. She smiled, soft and knowing, and I smiled back. We had found our way, all of us, to something that shouldn't work, but did. Something built on truth and compromise and the kind of love that survives decades and mistakes and the beautiful mess of being human. The story continues, of course. Stories like ours always do. But for now, in this moment, with my daughter arguing about ice cream flavors and the woman I've loved for 20 years wearing my bracelet, and her husband making dad jokes that make everyone groan. I understand that sometimes the best endings aren't endings at all. They're beginnings. And this is just the beginning.